Parallel Ninja Worlds Collide, Empire vs. Altered Konoha. Episode 41. By Kakashi's doubts, is the existence of ninjas wrong? Soon. The chaotic and restless village stopped the chaos. Facing this group of murderous bandits, Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Obito, and Shiro Kakashi did not hold back at all. They killed them all. Senju Hashirama sighed, and did not dare to stay in the village for long to accept the villagers' thanks, but left immediately. When I founded Konoha, I thought I had really created a better era. The result. What he saw these days completely shattered his past cognition. In this ninja world without His Majesty and the Empire, even the richest country, the Land of Fire, is so chaotic. Casinos are everywhere. Bandits are rampant. Some people are forced to sell themselves into slavery, and some die inexplicably. How can those bandits be so bold? Obito felt that he could not understand it at all. Don't they worry that someone will go to wipe them out? For example, your daimyo, or the ninja village. You can't survive, so you become a bandit, which is understandable. But you can just rob things, but you kill people so randomly. Nobles and caravan leaders often issue commissions to wipe out bandits. Shiro Kakashi said in a muffled voice, many ninjas first learn to kill people from such tasks. However, bandits can never be completely eliminated. Why is that? Uchiha Obito asked curiously. There are many reasons. Shiro Kakashi's face was not very good. There will always be many poor people who can't survive. Those who are not physically fit may choose to sell themselves as slaves. Some people with martial arts may choose to become bandits. Oh, I understand this. Obito hammered his hand and said excitedly, because there is no change in the social soil that will give birth to bandits, bandits can never be completely eliminated. Finally, there is a sentence he can explain clearly. There are other reasons. Kakashi didn't quite understand what he heard, but just remembered this sentence silently. For us ninjas, we will not choose to wipe out all the bandits at once. Hearing this, Obito and Senju Hashirama's faces changed. Even Obito can understand this truth. Raising the enemy is a way to protect oneself. I think I understand. Senju Hashirama nodded in a trance and said, the essence of ninjas is to use powerful force and rely on hired tasks to survive. So, of course, ninjas will want to have continuous hired tasks. It is not difficult for ninjas to kill all the existing bandits at once. But after a period of time, there may be no such task commissions. The source of income will be cut off. So, Your Majesty said that the existence of ninjas in the old ninja era was wrong. Obito also felt that his understanding was deeper. Just like Your Majesty once said. It turns out that facts can educate people better. The existence form of ninja? Kakashi frowned, suddenly thought of something, turned to look at Senju Hashirama, first generation master. I have always had a question to ask you. For this question, I think there should be no one more qualified to answer than the first Hokage of Konoha. First generation master. Shiro Kakashi took a deep breath and said formally, I want to ask, how should we understand the will of fire of Konoha? When a ninja encounters the question of whether to carry out the mission or save his companions, how should he choose? After speaking, Shiro Kakashi briefly described his change of mind after the White Fang incident until the Battle of Canopy Bridge. A ninja who cannot complete the mission is a waste. But those who abandon their companions for the mission are even worse than waste. This is what he thinks now. The will of fire? Senju Hashirama scratched his head in distress. This, in fact, there is no clear statement. At the beginning, I just hoped that everyone could unite under the inspiration of the will of fire. Speaking of which, this is also related to Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara named Konoha with the wood style. He named Hokage and the will of fire after the fire style that the Uchiha clan is good at. At the beginning, he just hoped that the Senju, Uchiha and other ninjas who joined Konoha would always be united like a big family. Senju Hashirama suddenly felt a little discouraged. From what I did later, I may not be worthy of saying this will of fire. They all turned their swords against their best friends for Konoha. What's the will of fire? I understand this. Uchiha Obito nodded and said, according to Your Majesty, this is just a slogan and a dream, but it is too empty and has no specific program. Shiro Kakashi never expected to get such an answer. The first Hokage of Konoha actually only looks at the will of fire in this way. Then, what about the mission or the companions? Shiro Kakashi did not give up and said, how should we choose this so that it does not violate the principles of ninjas and conforms to the will of fire? This question can be answered. Senju Hashirama thought for a while and said, according to your majesty, the problem is not the will of fire, but the existence of ninjas is wrong. In the old ninja era, ninjas were just tools to complete the mission. In this case, there is a widespread consensus that ninjas who cannot complete the mission are considered waste. And since ninjas are just tools, it naturally conflicts with the will of fire that needs to value and unite companions. What companions do tools need? Including what you said before, ninjas will not kill all the bandits at once. Senju Hashirama suddenly thought of the previous things and said, this is also because ninjas rely on mission commissions as their source of income, so this problem will arise. And the reason why the Empire was able to clean up the bandits. It is also because the Empire's ninjas no longer need to live on mission commissions. The Empire's ninjas can use the power of ninjas to obtain economic resources in a constructive way. No. Shiro Kakashi felt that these words seemed to make some sense, but he still did not give up. Will you Empire's ninjas not encounter the dilemma of choosing to carry out the Empire's mission or to protect your companions? If you really encounter such a choice, what should you do? If you give up the mission for this, what should you do? Even in the Empire of Otherworld. This kind of thing is ultimately difficult to avoid completely, right? Just do what you have to do. Uchiha Obito said as a matter of course, looking at Kakashi with some confusion. These will be handled in accordance with the laws of the Empire, by the Imperial Court and the Imperial Military Court. Why, isn't this the case here? Huh? Shiro Kakashi was completely stunned. What is a court? Episode 42, Menma's sarcasm, Jiraiya's unconvincing. After Uchiha Obito's explanation, Shiro Kakashi barely understood the Imperial Law and Imperial Court. No, don't you have these things here? Obito was shocked and puzzled. Then how do you deal with things that happen in the ninja village? As for the law. Shiro Kakashi was silent for a while. There are still some things like Konoha management regulations. As for similar things that happened, it should be handled by the Hokage, right? How to deal with it? Uchiha Obito asked curiously. For example, your father's white fang incident, how did your Hokage deal with it? Shiro Kakashi couldn't answer. After all, he was only 7 years old at that time. How could he get in touch with and understand how the Hokage dealt with this matter? Speaking of which, there is another question about my father. Kakashi said with a gloomy face, Shimura Danzo, that old bastard sent his men to spread rumors about my father in the village. For this, did the third Hokage participate? Set up a plan to hit his father's reputation. Is there any involvement of the Hokage in this matter? This kind of thing should have been handled immediately by the Hokage. Senju Hashirama's face was not very good. Even if it was not handled immediately, it should have been aware of the rumors in the village and clarified them in time. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage. Did he participate in this matter? Is it because of carelessness and negligence that he did not notice Danzo's little action? Little monkey, don't let me down. Senju Hashirama looked in the direction of Konoha, his eyes deep. You? Jiraiya widened his eyes and looked at Menma in front of him, with a layer of white fluid slowly fading from his face. As the unknown white fluid disappeared, Naruto's appearance and clothes changed. His hairstyle changed, and it seemed to be more like Minato's previous hairstyle. The boy's face, which was originally round, became more angular. And the 3 whiskers on the left and right sides of his face disappeared. On the side. Seeing that Menma had removed his disguise, Black Kakashi didn't care much and also put away the disguise of the white Zetsu coat. It was just facing Jiraiya. Even if they were temporarily exposed now, there would be no problem. You guys? Jiraiya looked at Black Kakashi, whose appearance and clothes had also changed, and a bone-chilling chill surged into his heart. Who are you? They looked like Naruto and Kakashi. But every detail was different. Damn it. Who is this person? Where did the real Naruto and Kakashi go? You go back to Kado, he will continue to take you in. Menma ignored Jiraiya for the time being, and said to the wandering samurai who was almost scared to death, if you choose to run away directly, you know the consequences. The wandering samurai was shocked and nodded immediately. Then, he immediately ran away as if he had been pardoned. Damn. He actually made a mistake. This is not the little yellow-haired guy from before, but another big yellow-haired guy. The big yellow-haired guy who broke the bridge with 1 foot. The wandering samurai still listened to Menma's words. Going back to Boss Kato to continue to make a living is better than being a robber. Senior Jiraiya, let's talk somewhere else. Kakashi gestured with his hand. Jiraiya followed with a gloomy face. Soon, the three of them came to an empty corner. Introduce yourself. Menma said very politely, I am Namake's Menma, he is Hitaki Kakashi, from Otherworld, which is different from yours. After some explanation, Jiraiya still frowned. From the parallel ninja world, Naruto and Kakashi's isotopes in different time and space? It sounds like that. But Jiraiya still had a doubt in his heart. What do you want to do when you come to our world? Jiraiya said vigilantly, also, what about Naruto and Kakashi on our side, what did you do to them? They are all fine now. Menma smiled and said, as for our intentions, this may depend on your performance in the future. If you perform well, maybe our empire will not come to invade your ninja world in full. Invade the ninja world? Jiraiya's heart jumped. He clenched his fists immediately. Damn, as expected. These guys who are suspected to be from the other world cannot come with peaceful intentions. Well, let me ask you a question first. Menma tapped his head and said, I am very interested in the saying of the child of prophecy of Mount Myaboku. Can you tell me in detail what prophecies the great Toad Sage has made? I suggest that you answer truthfully. Otherwise, we can get the answer in your mind anyway. Jiraiya's face changed. This guy is threatening himself? This child is actually Naruto from another world? In the empire of the other world, this child should also be Minato's child, right? How could Minato's child say such a thing? His heart was in turmoil. Jiraiya remained calm on the surface. He did not intend to flee immediately or take action. If the other party is really from the other world, the ninja world still knows nothing about them. He now needs to get as much information as possible from these guys. The prophecy of the great Toad Sage. Jiraiya said slowly. He said all the prophecies he had heard from the great Toad Sage in his past life. It doesn't matter if he says these things now. Anyway, the most important thing, that Naruto is the child of prophecy, has already been said. In the past, when he was young, the great Toad Sage had already predicted his arrival. Later, when he was practicing the summoning technique, he coincidentally came to Mount Myaboku, and as the prophecy said, he gained friendship and strength at Mount Myaboku. The latter. It is a prophecy about the child of prophecy. He will travel around the ninja world, write a book that will interest the great Toad Sage, and accept disciples, and he will accept the child of prophecy as a disciple. The child of prophecy may bring unprecedented stability or destruction to the ninja world. And he needs to make a choice at the critical moment to guide the child of prophecy. On the opposite side. Listen to Jiraiya quietly. Menma's face was expressionless, and he suddenly raised his hand and operated the watch briefly. The combat power detector appeared on the side of his head. On the green virtual screen, the numbers jumped. Your combat power value is 3,000. Menma nodded slightly and said, not bad, and it seems that there is still hidden combat power. Is it Mount Myaboku's fairy technique? If this is counted, your combat power should be even higher. Menma's face suddenly changed, and he said sarcastically, however, compared with such a major event as peace in the ninja world, and guiding the child of prophecy who can determine the peace of the ninja world, this combat power is completely insufficient. Jiraiya, I would like to ask, with your ordinary strength, why can you be confident that you can become the teacher of the child of prophecy and guide the child of prophecy? Episode 43, Jiraiya, can you please stop talking about the first Hokage? Jiraiya's face turned red. He was just wondering what kind of device suddenly appeared on Menma's face. And what does that combat power of 3,000 mean? And then he suddenly heard Menma say this. He, Konoha Sannin, Toad Sage Jiraiya. He was actually called ordinary but confident? How did Minato in another world teach his children? He actually raised this Naruto's counterpart like this. Am I wrong? Menma looked directly at Jiraiya and said, how do you think your strength compares to that of the first Hokage? Jiraiya was immediately frustrated. The first Hokage is called the god of ninjas, which I can't compare to, but... No buts. Menma interrupted directly, what kind of strength do you think is needed to become the child of prophecy? Do you need to surpass the first Hokage? After all, the first Hokage couldn't achieve the mutual understanding that you expect from everyone. It's reasonable to have strength that surpasses the first Hokage to achieve what the first Hokage couldn't do, right? Jiraiya, do you think you can guide the child of prophecy to surpass the first Hokage? The words were like a machine gun. It stunned Jiraiya directly. He had never seen the strength of the first Hokage. But Jiraiya still had an idea in his mind: he would never be able to reach the strength of the first Hokage in his lifetime. That's the god of ninjas. And he, at most, is just a sannin who was given the title of loser by a demigod. As for guiding the child of prophecy to surpass the strength of the first Hokage, Jiraiya also has no confidence and dares not say that he can do such a thing. He dare not even imagine the power of the first Hokage. It is even more difficult to imagine what the power beyond the first Hokage will be like. This is not a matter of power. Jiraiya blushed and tried to defend himself. If you want to achieve a future where everyone understands each other, you can't rely on power to oppress. Yes. That's it. Well, now it seems that, perhaps, in the ninja world where these people are, someone may have chosen the path of using power to oppress everyone. So this Naruto's isomorph grew up like this. If you can't rely on strength, then what can you rely on? Menma asked curiously, what can you rely on to achieve mutual understanding among everyone? Use your personal charm to convince others? Well, of course. Jiraiya felt that he had been sweating all day and couldn't wipe it off. I believe the child of prophecy can do it. Really? Menma nodded slowly and suddenly asked, so, Jiraiya, how do you think your personal charm is? Can it compare with the first Hokage who founded Konoha and made so many ninjas join Konoha? Jiraiya felt that he was going crazy. Can we not mention the first Hokage? Why do you always compare yourself with the first Hokage? In this regard, Jiraiya is still very clear in his mind. Strength, this is needless to say. He used his head to compare with the first Hokage. As for personal charm, this is totally incomparable. First Hokage ended Sengoku, created the era of one country and one village, and made so many ninja clans, even the Uchiha clan, which had a feud with the Senju clan, join Konoha. How can he compare with this kind of personality charm? You think you can't compare, right? Menma continued to ask. Then, Jiraiya, let's ask the same question as before. Why do you think you can be the teacher of the child of prophecy? What is so special about you that the child of prophecy must be guided by you? Jiraiya's face turned pale. He was so speechless that he couldn't say anything. If there is someone in the ninja world who can be the teacher of the child of prophecy. Menma had no intention of letting Jiraiya go, and continued, then, Jiraiya, do you think you are the one who is more qualified than the first Hokage? But, the first Hokage is not from this era. Jiraiya suddenly came to his senses, and suddenly felt that his thoughts were much smoother. I admit that first Hokage is much stronger than me in terms of strength and personality charm. However, the child of prophecy was not born in the era of the first Hokage, but now. Yes. That's right. The child of prophecy was born in this era. Although I can't understand what kind of ability is needed to achieve long-term stability and peace in the ninja world and to achieve mutual understanding among all people. But as long as I teach the child of prophecy with all my heart, let my disciples surpass myself. The dream of mutual understanding among all people will eventually be realized in the hands of my disciples. Why are you so sure that the child of prophecy will appear in this era? Menma felt puzzled, just because of the prophecy of that old toad? I can't understand why you believe in the prophecy of a toad so much. That's the Great Toad Sage. Jiraiya corrected, the Great Toad Sage existed during the Sage of Six Paths period, and once left a prophecy about the child of prophecy to the Sage of Six Paths 1,000 years ago. Sage of Six Paths. Heh. Menma couldn't help laughing when he heard this, and looked at Jiraiya and said, speaking of Sage of Six Paths, Jiraiya, what do you think the child of prophecy needs to do to bring peace and stability to the ninja world? Specifically, what are the hidden dangers of peace and stability in the ninja world that need to be eliminated? Hearing this, Jiraiya frowned. Sweep. This doesn't sound like a path to peace. The child of prophecy wants to achieve peace and stability in the ninja world, and mutual understanding between people, and it is absolutely impossible to rely on oppression by force. Jiraiya firmly refuted. Alas. Menma looked at Jiraiya deeply and sighed, you really know nothing about the history and truth of the ninja world. Jiraiya had a question mark on his forehead. What's wrong with him? What history and truth of the ninja world? Is there any secret that he doesn't know? It just so happens that I'm interested in talking to you now. Menma said with interest, I want to see how you will view yourself now after learning the truth of this ninja world. At the same time, The main world. Primary School 996 in Shiching district of the Imperial capital. Uchiha Sasuke has been enrolled in this primary school for a while. Hey, Indra, is everything here true? Sasuke repeatedly flipped through the Empire's ninja history textbooks, unable to hide his shocked expression. Episode 44, Sasuke at Imperial Elementary School, History of the Mythological Age. After enrolling in this otherworld empire, Sasuke has to study many courses every day. Chakra control, chakra and ninjutsu principles, ideological and political courses, history courses, and so on. The daily schedule is very full. Among them, Sasuke is most interested in all courses related to improving strength. But what shocked Sasuke the most? It has to be history courses. The content described in the history textbooks of the Empire completely refreshed Sasuke's three views. The chakra ancestor in the mythology of the ninja world, Otsutsuki Kagaya, actually exists and is an alien. The chakra ancestor, in terms of status, was only similar to the existence of the Hyuga clan branch house. And the ancestor of the ninja clan, Sage of Six Paths. He actually once joined forces with his brother to seal his mother. And the two sons of Sage of Six Paths, Otsutsuki Indra, Otsutsuki Ashura. The dispute between the two about the succession of the ninja clan, and the 1,000-year-long fateful reincarnation entanglement between their descendants and chakra reincarnations in later generations. As far as the facts are concerned, there is basically no problem. In Sasuke's body, a special existence is communicating with Sasuke. It is Indra. Before, Chang Ye stripped Indra's will from Sasuke's chakra, and added some chakra to make it into a tailed beast like the one in Jinchuriki's body. In addition, when Sasuke collapsed and cried in the Uchiha clan land before, it was Indra who took the initiative to speak and comforted Sasuke for a long time. As a result, now, Sasuke has completely accepted the existence of such an existence in his body. Not only is he his ancestor, but he also has a chakra reincarnation relationship with him. Just treat him as a portable grandfather who can chat at any time. The only problem is, Indra paused, arousing Sasuke's curiosity. The description is a little too detailed. How come this history textbook talks about everything? Even the reincarnation of his and Ashura's chakra is recorded in the main text. And he specifically came to his father before his death and said that he would fight with Ashura forever. This kind of thing was also written in the sidebar of the textbook as a historical story. Crazy. Who compiled this textbook? The characters, dialogues, and environment are all written as if they were seen with their own eyes. This happened thousands of years ago. How can someone in this era understand it so clearly? These are actually true. Sasuke was shocked. Chakra in the ninja world, it turned out to be like this. The outsider, Otsutsuki Kagaya. The public enemy of all life in the entire ninja world, the Otsutsuki clan. Is the ninja world where I live facing such a terrible enemy? Alas. Indra couldn't help but sigh. Now I finally know who Grandma Kagaya has always been afraid of. Grandma Kagaya, who was extremely powerful in the eyes of him, his younger brother Ashura, his father and uncle Hamura. It turned out to be his superior who had once stabbed him in the back to plant trees together. And the Otsutsuki clan may have more strong people coming to the ninja world in the future. From this point of view, Grandma Kagaya's fear is completely understandable. But, my father's naive idea is really wrong. Indra snorted coldly in Sasuke's body. What about mutual understanding between people, naive? Can ordinary people defeat Otsutsuki and protect the ninja world with their strength? In reality, Sasuke also nodded secretly. Otsutsuki are a group of high-level predators that use life as bait. It is pure delusion to tell them that people understand each other. We still have to rely on fists and strength to speak. Suddenly, a little head broke into Sasuke's field of vision. Hey, Sasuke. A little girl tilted her head and looked at Sasuke and said, "Who were you talking to just now?" Strange. She just saw that there was no one around Sasuke. Why is he still talking to himself? Is it because he just entered school and has no friends and is too lonely? Nothing. Sasuke's face was slightly red and he said awkwardly, "I was just reciting the book and I didn't talk to anyone." Damn it. So annoying. Can these little brats in the class stay away from me? In the class he is in now, the oldest student is only 10 years old. After he entered school, these children in the class, especially the girls, became very curious about him. He is already 12 years old, and he is also an Uchiha who is a descendant of God. Why is he still in elementary school? In addition, because of this face, Sasuke once again experienced the troubles he had in the ninja school. However, he is not interested in such things now. He just wants to improve his strength as soon as possible, so that he can take revenge on Uchiha Itachi. Ah. Sasuke looked at the group of children in the classroom, and his heart couldn't help sighing. Let's set a small goal first, graduate from elementary school as soon as possible, and enter junior high school. The land of waves. Jiraiya was still on guard, listening to Menma telling the so-called historical truth. The result. The more he listened, the more he couldn't hold it. Chakra ancestor, ninja ancestor, Indra and Ashura, Senju and Uchiha. And what is the enemy from outer space? What is this all about? However, looking at Menma's serious way of telling the story, Jiraiya was a little unsure again. Is this guy telling the truth? If it is true, is this still the ninja world I know? Since then, the ninja clan has split. Indra and Ashura, their descendants, Uchiha and Senju, began a 1,000-year-long dispute. Menma couldn't help but clear his throat when he said this, and concluded, here, the history of the mythological era ends. In the Empire, the history of the ninja world is divided into 4 stages. The mythological era, the Sengoku era, the ninja village era, and the Imperial era. Okay, let's stop here. Menma looked at Jiraiya and said, now it's time to answer my previous question. Jiraiya, you hope that the child of prophecy can bring stability and peace to the ninja world, so, facing the enemy from outside the world, the Otsutsuki clan, how do you think you should deal with it? Opposite. Jiraiya frowned and hesitated for a long time before answering. If what you just said is true, then it can be said that the Otsutsuki clan is the enemy of everyone in the ninja world. In this case, the child of prophecy is even more needed to unite everyone to fight against the most dangerous and terrible enemy in the ninja world. Hearing this answer, Menma and Kuro Kakashi looked at each other. I was really speechless. Episode 45. You are not worthy enough to be the enemy of the Empire. Is this guy out of his mind? I've already told you that the Otsutsuki clan is a race that roams the starry sky and aims at a planet with life. He's still talking about your bullshit son of prophecy. He's really mentally ill. He's been fooled by a toad. Menma, some people are just hard to convince and hopeless. Black Kakashi shook his head and said. Now I completely understand why His Majesty hates you. Menma said with emotion, fortunately, His Majesty directly banned contact between us. Otherwise, if I really had a teacher like you, I would probably be ruined by the teaching. Jiraiya's eyebrows rose. Hearing this, it seems that in another ninja world, the self over there doesn't seem to be very popular with that Majesty. He even banned contact between himself and this Naruto's counterpart. Then I would like to ask. Jiraiya changed his speechless look and asked, over there, your emperor, how did he do it? It's very simple, use strength, use power. Menma answered very naturally, faced with the many hidden dangers in the ninja world, only with sufficient strength can these hidden dangers be eliminated. Sure enough, Jiraiya felt that it was not unexpected. The Empire in another ninja world, the Emperor. He is really a person who advocates using power to solve problems. It is normal for such a person to dislike himself. Menma, with his fingers raised, recounted the history that everyone knew in another world. In the 40th year of the Konoha calendar in the Ninja Village era, His Majesty defeated the coalition of the 4 major ninja villages in the War of Unification and unified the ninja world. After entering the Imperial era, in the 5th year of the Imperial calendar, His Majesty successfully opened the power of the 10,000 things. Next, His Majesty successfully solved the ninja Shura hiding in the dark of the ninja world and wiped out the 3 holy places. In the 10th year of the Imperial calendar, His Majesty transcended the limits of mortals and entered the realm of 6 paths. Next, His Majesty cleared the Pure Land, landed on the moon, and subdued the descendants of the gods who mastered the power of the starburst. In the 15th year of the Imperial calendar, His Majesty went a step further, transcended the 6 paths level, and reached a higher realm. Next, His Majesty unlocked the seal, released the chakra ancestor sealed in the moon, and killed the outer enemies hiding in the alien space. And so on. There are beings hiding in every corner of the ninja world that may pose a threat to the ninja world. Which one can be solved by the so-called unity of all people and mutual understanding between people? No, there are not so many enemies in the ninja world? Jiraiya was completely confused. He was already shocked when he heard Menma talk about the history of the mythological era of the ninja world. But it's not over yet. Shura of the ninja world? Does it mean Uchiha Madara? Hasn't he been dead for decades? And pure land, moon, different space. What kind of enemies are there? Jiraiya found that he couldn't understand it at all. The three holy places, why do we have to wipe out the three holy places? Jiraiya didn't understand at all. The three holy places are not a threat to the ninja world. You really only focus on this. Menma just felt that it was not unexpected. This person. Really brainwashed by the toad. Jiraiya was also a little speechless. He only knew this. He didn't understand any other messy things. These are all things in your ninja world, I don't need to ask for the time being. Jiraiya said, secretly raising his vigilance, but now, you people have come to our ninja world, what are you going to do? Your empire, your emperor, is going to invade our ninja world? Menma became slightly interested and asked, if so, what are you going to do? Sure enough. Jiraiya felt nothing surprised, and said firmly, Your Majesty's advocacy of force, using force to conquer others and solve problems is destined to not last long. No matter how strong you are, I will definitely fight you to the end. However, on the opposite side. Hearing Jiraiya's words, Menma and Kuro Kakashi didn't seem to be scared at all. Hey, Jiraiya. Menma's last bit of respect for his father's former teacher disappeared, do you know? Before we came, His Majesty had done homework for us, talked about the threats we might encounter in the parallel ninja world, and listed a list. Your name is not on this list. You are not worthy of being an enemy of the Empire. So what? Jiraiya said nonchalantly, even if my power is low, I will never succumb to you. And, you may have to pay a price for underestimating me. He has mastered Sage Mode. With the blessing of the two immortals, he used Sage Mode to fight for a long time. He asked himself that his strength was not weaker than anyone in the ninja world, including the 5 Kage. There are 3 highest level threats listed by His Majesty. Menma gestured with his fingers, one is above, on the moon. One is below, in the pure land. And another one is in another space. These 3, the few people in their advance team, can only try to solve the threat of the moon. So, they also need to be cautious in their actions in the ninja world. The next level of threats include the founders of the 3 holy places, the possible resurrection of the ninja Shura, Shinigami, and the 8 inner gates formation. Menma continued, below that, there are the Rinnegan left by the ninja Shura, the powerful monsters existing in the ninja world, the 6 paths ninja tools, and so on. As for the ninjas of the 5 major ninja villages, the only ones that can be considered a threat are the dust release of the rock shinobi 2nd Tsuchikage and the 3rd Tsuchikage. Dust release, even for them, may still pose a threat. And Jiraiya. At most, he has mastered the fairy art of Mount Mayaboku. This strength is not enough to be taken seriously by them. Opposite. Jiraiya frowned. Listen carefully, remembering what Menma just said in his mind. Although he didn't understand these things very well, since these alien invaders think they are threats, they may be used to fight against these invaders. Young man, thank you for the information you sent me. Jiraiya laughed and quickly formed seals with his hands, however, this toad sage has to leave now. He didn't know the strength of these guys now. It's better not to start fighting now. The most important thing now is to take this information back, inform the 5 major ninja villages, unite the entire ninja world, and fight against the invaders from other worlds. Want to leave? Menma chuckled and said disdainfully, do you think I can't even predict this? As he said that, Menma stomped his right foot quickly on the ground. Swish. Dense black rune spells spread from under Menma's feet. Flying Thunder God, ban. Episode 46. Kill Jiraiya instantly. Seal the memory, bang. Jiraiya finished the seal. A burst of white smoke exploded. However, nothing appeared. Failed? Jiraiya's face changed. He just wanted to use the summoning technique to summon Fukasaku Sage, and then immediately unlock the summoning technique, so that Fukasaku Sage could summon him to Mount Mayaboku with the reverse summoning technique. In this way, he would have successfully escaped. However, the escape method that was thought to be foolproof actually failed. Wait. What did the boy say just now? Swish. In an instant. A flash of golden light. Menma's figure disappeared from the spot, and the next moment he appeared in front of Jiraiya. Boom. A punch with strange strength hit Jiraiya's stomach, and Jiraiya was directly knocked out. Puff. Jiraiya's eyes almost popped out, and he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen, and his brain almost lost consciousness in an instant. Such a strong power. This strange power, Tsunade is only this strong, right? Swoosh, Jiraiya has not recovered yet. A large number of golden chains flew out from Menma's hands, quickly wrapping Jiraiya's body tightly. This is... Jiraiya's face immediately became extremely ugly. Adamantine sealing chains? This kid not only learned Minato's Flying Thunder God technique, but also inherited his mother's adamantine sealing chains? Not good. Being blocked by such a combo, it will be difficult for him to escape. Jiraiya immediately burst out chakra desperately, using all his strength in both arms to try to break free from the chains that bound him. However, tied up by adamantine sealing chains, his chakra was restricted, and he couldn't use much strength at this moment. This is a sealing technique that can even restrict the tailed beasts. Give up struggling, Jiraiya. Kuro Kakashi raised his finger, and in an instant, the dark curse spread over Jiraiya's body. Self-inflicted curse seal? Jiraiya looked at the curse seal crawling on his body, and his heart sank little by little. Self-inflicted curse seal, after being hit, the body will be fixed. Jiraiya tried to continue struggling. Sure enough, the body could no longer move. Looking up, he looked at Menma and Kuro Kakashi. He had completely lost the ability to resist now. Have you been prepared for me to escape? Jiraiya tried to calm himself down, looked down, and sure enough, he found a black spell in the style of the Uzumaki clan emblem on his sleeve, and said, using the Flying Thunder God spell left in advance, a surprise attack caused me to be completely unable to react. In addition, adamantine sealing chains and self-inflicted curse seal. 3 in 1. He is a dignified Konoha Sannin, a veteran Kaiga-level strongman in the ninja world. He was killed instantly. He is now completely at the mercy of others. But I still don't understand. Jiraiya looked at Menma and said, the Flying Thunder God you just used, ban. What is that? It seems to have interrupted my summoning technique. Is there such a use for Flying Thunder God? His disciple Namikaze Minato is well known in the ninja world for the Flying Thunder God technique. Jiraiya naturally has enough knowledge about this space-time ninjutsu. This is a new use invented and improved by your majesty based on the Flying Thunder God technique. Menma chuckled and explained, it can temporarily confine a space, so that you can't escape by reversing the summoning technique. Jiraiya's heart sank again. So they had been on guard against me. I thought I could use the reverse summoning technique to escape after getting enough information. Do you think we are really stupid enough to send you information? Menma shrugged and said, if we were not prepared and not worried that you could leave with the information, how could we do this? So. Jiraiya swallowed his saliva, and a feeling of despair rose in his heart. Are you not going to let me leave? These hateful alien invaders. I have already known the existence and intentions of these guys. But this is the end. For my father's sake, I can spare your life. Menma said, walked up to Jiraiya, and put his hand on Jiraiya's head. After all, as a son, killing his father's former teacher is a bit too much. Besides, with your strength, even if you are let go, it will not affect the Empire's plan. Jiraiya's face changed. Although he knew that he could save his life. But Jiraiya was not happy at all. His strength was not taken seriously at all. It's just that your life can be saved this time, but it's impossible to take the information away. Menma said with a chuckle. While speaking, Menma's consciousness suddenly invaded Jiraiya's mind. You? What are you going to do? At this moment, Jiraiya only felt that his mind seemed to have become transparent, and there was no privacy. In addition to space-time ninjutsu, I also have a little knowledge of sealing techniques. Menma smiled and said, well, goodbye. If you plan to continue to be a stumbling block to the Empire's progress in the future, then maybe we will meet again. You bastard. Jiraiya cursed directly. He had guessed Menma's plan. This bastard, he planned to seal his memory. Minato has mastered such a method. Well. Let's seal the memory of going to Mount Myaboku. Menma thought for a while and said, it also saves you from disturbing Naruto again. Ha, the child of prophecy, it's ridiculous. You. Jiraiya wanted to curse, but he couldn't say it anymore, and was knocked unconscious by Menma. I can probably guess. Kuro Kakashi looked at Jiraiya, who had fainted, and said, with his personality, I'm afraid he will eventually stand on the opposite side of the Empire in the future. The Empire is never afraid of any enemy. Menma said calmly, and maybe it's worth looking forward to it. One day in the future, when the seal of his memory is unlocked, what expression will he have at that time? Once he had clearly learned the truth. But he was beaten back to his original form. The moment the seal was unlocked, the despair, regret, anger, regret, at that time must be very interesting. Menma. Kuro Kakashi said expressionlessly, "You have a bad taste." "Is it?" Menma blinked innocently. "You know Kuni." In a hotel. Jiraiya's eyelids moved slightly, and he opened his eyes with difficulty. Where am I?" Jiraiya couldn't help pinching his forehead, feeling that his memory was a little fuzzy. "Did you drink to black out last night?" "Oh. By the way. There is a very nice hot spring nearby. I was planning to go there to collect materials before." Hot spring, here I come." Jiraiya had a lewd expression on his face, and immediately stood up, ready to continue his work of collecting materials. Episode 47, Hashirama, Sarutobi is the strongest Hokage of all time? Konoha Village. By Kakashi and his 3 companions disguised themselves and entered Konoha Village quietly. Oh. Senju Hashirama, who had been in a low and gloomy mood before, became much more cheerful at this moment. The development of Konoha is still very good now. Before, he saw all kinds of chaos after entering the Land of Fire. Bandits and mountain bandits plundering everywhere. After gradually approaching Konoha, they were basically gone. Instead, there were endless caravans. After entering Konoha, the prosperous shops also made Senju Hashirama sigh again and again. Speaking of it, this era is more than 40 years after his death. Konoha now has developed and changed a lot compared to his time. Konoha is still the first of the 5 major ninja villages after all. By Kakashi said, and the Land of Fire is still the richest country in the ninja world. How about walking around Konoha first? Senju Hashirama said excitedly. Obito and Shiro Kakashi naturally had no objection. Then, led by Shiro Kakashi, the 3 of them wandered around Konoha village. Speaking of which, the current layout of Konoha is completely different from before. Senju Hashirama scratched his head and said, "I can't recognize the layout of each area in the village now. This should be because of the Nine Tails Rebellion." Shiro Kakashi was a little silent and said, "The Nine Tails Rebellion caused great damage to the village. After that, the village was replanned on a large scale, including some ninja clans, which were also rearranged." Ninja clan? Senju Hashirama became interested and asked, "Where are the Senju and Uchiha clans arranged?" On the way just now, he saw some ninja clans. For example, the Hyuga clan, the Sarutobi clan, etc. These ninja clans are still very prosperous now. Senju. Kakashi Shira frowned slightly. "I heard that the Senju clan seemed to be disbanded by the second Hokage and then completely integrated into the village, so there should be no fixed clan land. Is that so?" Senju Hashirama nodded slowly. When he was still alive, Tobirama also told him about the idea of disbanding the Senju and integrating them into Konoha. It seems that it was implemented after his death. As for the clan land of the Uchiha clan, Kakashi Shira was silent for a while, and turned his head to look at a river that passed through Konoha village in the distance. After the Nine Tails Rebellion, the clan land of the Uchiha clan was moved to the outer corner of Konoha village. However, now, there is no Uchiha clan land. The Uchiha clan has been exterminated for 5 years. The area that used to be the Uchiha clan land has also been taken back by the village and redeveloped. So remote? Senju Hashirama looked at the place whereby Kakashi pointed, and his face changed. Someone is deliberately excluding the Uchiha clan, right? The Uchiha clan's land in the past was not so remote. The Uchiha clan is one of the founding ninja clans of Konoha after all. At the beginning, the clan's land was in the core area of Konoha. This is because during the Nine Tails Rebellion, Nine Tails showed signs of being controlled by the Sharingan. By Kakashi explained, so, after the Nine Tails Rebellion, the Uchiha clan moved to the outskirts of the village. It was for the convenience of defense and surveillance. Defense. Senju Hashirama's expression became a little distorted. Even surveillance? There is such a thing? With the character of the Uchiha clan, can they tolerate such a thing? There is indeed surveillance of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi Shirai said frankly, "I have been in Umbu for a long time, and during that time I have done the task of monitoring the Uchiha clan." Senju Hashirama clenched his fists in anger. Is this how Monkey, the Hokage, treats his fellow villagers? For fellow villagers, not only did they force the clan to move, but they even sent Umbu to monitor them. This is not completely unreasonable. Kakashi Shirai whispered, after all, during the Nine Tails Rebellion, the Uchiha clan was indeed suspected of manipulating the Nine Tails. Ridiculous. Senju Hashirama's face changed, and he said angrily, don't I know the character of the Uchiha clan? They were all forced to move their clan. Although I don't know how they can tolerate such a thing, this is enough to explain the problem. He felt a little incredible. This generation of Uchiha is so tolerant. Relocation of the clan land, and even monitoring of the clan land can be tolerated. That's right. Senju Hashirama suddenly thought, did you find out anything by monitoring the Uchiha clan? Did you find out whether the Nine Tails Rebellion was really manipulated by someone? Shiro Kakashi looked a little embarrassed, nothing was found. Senju Hashirama felt that he was almost speechless. What the hell is Monkey, the third Hokage, doing? The Uchiha clan was tossed around like this, but nothing was found out. It's over. The Uchiha clan was inexplicably exterminated. What a mess. For a while, Senju Hashirama's good mood when he first arrived in Konoha was quickly dispersed. The three of them didn't hang around anymore. Led by Shiro Kakashi, they came to a bookstore he often visited. Found a Konoha history textbook used by the Konoha Shinobi School. Senju Hashirama now also understands it. I want to know some general information about the ninja world and the ninja village. It is most convenient and quick to look up the corresponding history books. Well, the episodes are divided according to the successive Hokage. Senju Hashirama looked at the table of contents, and then his expression was slightly embarrassed. The first two episodes seem a bit short. The content of the third Hokage accounts for the vast majority. And the first generation, second generation, and fourth generation are relatively far behind. I didn't pay much attention to it. Senju Hashirama began to flip through it. Senju Hashirama looked at the content in the book and blinked. Under the leadership of the third Hokage, Konoha cultivated Konoha's White Fang, Sannin, Golden Flash and other ninjas whose reputations resounded throughout the ninja world. During the third Hokage's tenure, Konoha's overall strength and prestige in the ninja world reached the highest peak in history. And all this is inseparable from the leadership of the third Hokage, the strongest Hokage of all generations. Huh? Senju Hashirama couldn't help scratching his head. Third generation. Is this little monkey the strongest Hokage of all time? Episode 48, Revised Textbook, Summoning Konoha's White Fang. Uchiha Obito also came over and saw this content, and his eyebrows raised. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is the strongest Hokage in history? Isn't this nonsense? What the hell is this? The history textbook of Konoha Shinobi School is so blatantly making up lies? And the third generation is the strongest Hokage. How does Sarutobi Hiruzen compare to the first Hokage? Doesn't he have any idea in his mind? This really doesn't make sense. Senju Hashirama scratched his head and said, this is not because he is arrogant. In fact, it seems impossible to think about it a little bit. He has learned the history of the ninja world and the empire and knows that he is the reincarnation of Ashura's chakra. In the ninja world, the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura's chakra basically means the limit of the strength that mortals can achieve. What's more, Your Majesty also said it specifically. Even among the Ashura chakra reincarnations of all generations, he is a special upgraded body. And Sarutobi Hiruzen. He is nothing. The Sarutobi clan is at most good at all 5 elements of escape techniques. They don't have bloodline limits or secret techniques. What can Sarutobi use to surpass himself and become the strongest Hokage of all generations? This paragraph. Shiro Kakashi frowned and tried to recall. I remember that there should be no such statement in the history textbooks when I was a child. Could it be a problem of the times? Obito looked at the publication time of the book and said, this book is used in the current ninja school, and Kakashi, when you were in the ninja school, there were many old people who had seen the strength of the first Hokage. So, at that time, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen had 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to lie like this. But now it's different. It's been 60 years in Konoha. There are basically not many people who have seen the first Hokage. But, why? Senju Hashirama felt confused. Why is this textbook written like this? Is there any reason? Why do you use him to criticize him? Although he doesn't care too much about this kind of thing, he will still feel a little unhappy. I can probably understand this. Kakashi was a little silent and said, the third generation regained power after the Nine Tails Rebellion, but the third generation at this time no longer has the prestige it had before, so this method may be necessary. Originally, the third Hokage resigned after the Third Shinobi World War. As a result, the fourth generation died, and the village did not elect the fifth generation, but the third generation continued to take office. Some people in the village will still have opinions. To consolidate their position? Senju Hashirama's face was a little ugly. This is just nonsense. As a Hokage, if you can't convince the public, you should abdicate and let the wise man take over. What kind of tricks are these? Suppressing anger with difficulty. Senju Hashirama continued to read on. However, he soon reached the end. Senju Hashirama was getting more and more disappointed. Why are some important things not written? What happened to Konoha's White Fang incident? Why did Sannin Orochimaru suddenly defect because of human experiments? And the Uchiha genocide was not even mentioned. The history textbook used by the Konoha Shinobi School is not even as good as the River Country version of the ninja history he had read before. I don't know the reasons behind these things. Uchiha Obito suddenly said, but at least I can be sure of one thing, vaguely, there must be something fishy behind it. Shiro Kakashi nodded secretly. Even Obito could see it. It seems that there must be more hidden stories behind the Konoha's White Fang incident where his father committed suicide. At Shiro Kakashi's home. Are you the only one living at home? Uchiha Obito looked around and asked curiously, you are so old, don't you have a girlfriend or something? Kakashi-bai had just come over with a big box of clothes. Hearing this, he was silent for a moment and asked back, do you have one yourself? Of course I have one. Obito was flustered for a moment, and immediately said with all his strength, I am a genius of the Uchiha clan. Things like girlfriends are simply. Okay, stop talking. Kakashi-bai waved his hand and interrupted directly, I know you are a single dog. Yeah. It seems that the two Obitos in the ninja world are very similar. They don't seem to be very smart. I was actually fooled by this guy Obito before. These are the clothes my father wore when he was alive. Kakashi-bai put the box of clothes on the ground and said, there should be my father's dandruff, cell tissue and other things in it. If cell tissue is extracted from it, in this way, I should be able to use the reanimation jutsu to summon my father back. Is that so? That should be no problem. Obito said, with a flash of scarlet light in his eyes, wait a minute, I'll be back soon. The void twisted in a vortex. Uchiha Obito's figure disappeared quickly, and then reappeared quickly. He was holding a piece of talisman paper in his hand. Use this. Obito showed the talisman paper with dense black spells on it, and said, a one-time impure world summoning talisman, specially developed by the naturally evil Senju Old Ghost, no sacrifice is required, only chakra infusion is required. Even in the Empire, impure world reincarnation is still a controlled ninjutsu. Ninjas are not allowed to learn or use it at will. And this time, for the parallel ninja world exploration plan, Senju Tobarama specially developed this thing. It is to facilitate the use of the advanced team members who explore the parallel ninja world. The naturally evil Senju Old Ghost? Shiro Kakashi was slightly at a loss. Senju Hashirama laughed awkwardly. In the Empire, his brother seemed to be often called that by some Uchiha people. He was already somewhat used to it. Come on. Obito handed the talisman to Kakashi and said, just like using a detonating talisman, inject chakra into the talisman and place it on the clothes your father wore. Episode 49. The truth behind the White Fang incident, a deeper conspiracy. Whoosh, the wind howled. The passage between the living world and the pure land suddenly opened. This. Kakashi-bai was stunned. In front of him, on the ground. The talisman paper covered with black spells, after injecting chakra, the black spells lit up. The black spells spread on the clothes below and on the ground. Using the remaining cell tissue on this old clothes, a specific connection was constructed. The genetic information belonging to Konoha's White Fang is connected to the soul of Konoha's White Fang in the Pure Land. Then, an illusory spirit was summoned from the Pure Land. A middle-aged man with white hair. Father. Kakashi-bai was stunned. The illusory spirit in front of him, who looked light and fluttering, looked very familiar. It has been nearly 20 years since we last met. He finally saw his father again. Kakashi? After Hitaki Sakumo's soul returned to the world, he regained consciousness, looked around, and said in a daze, where am I? Didn't he commit suicide? What's going on now? Father. By Kakashi suppressed his excitement, I used a special method to summon you back from the Pure Land. Special method? Hatake Sakumo had a thought, the forbidden technique of the second Hokage? Did Kakashi use the forbidden technique of the second Hokage? Hatake Sakumo was about to say something. Suddenly, he saw a familiar face on the side. You are. Hatake Sakumo's soul showed an obvious look of astonishment on his face. First Hokage? What's going on? He has seen the first Hokage before. The man next to him is obviously the first Hokage. Kakashi, this kid, could it be that even the first Hokage was reincarnated by Impure World? Have I seen you before? Senju Hashirama frowned slightly, feeling that he didn't seem to have much impression. I saw you from a distance when I enrolled in the ninja school. Hatake Sakumo was extremely respectful, and then turned to look at Kakashi. Kakashi, what's going on? Summoning himself back from the Pure Land. This is not a big deal. But it's wrong to disturb the first Hokage. Kakashi was a little confused. Soon. Briefly explained the current situation. Now. It was Hatake Sakumo's turn to be confused. The one in front of him was the first Hokage, but not the first Hokage. At least not the first Hokage he had seen, but the first Hokage of another world. So confusing. People from the parallel ninja world came to this ninja world. Did Kakashi encounter such a complicated thing? Ahem, father. Kakashi said formally, I'm sorry to disturb your peace of mind, but I found that there may be some conspiracy in your original incident. Next. Kakashi recounted what he saw in Yamanaka Kaze's memory. Opposite. Hatake Sakumo listened quietly. There was not much expression on his face. Father, I want to know, what happened back then? Kakashi said anxiously, is there anyone deliberately framing you? Who is involved in framing you? If all this is a conspiracy, then someone should pay the price for what they did. Whether there is someone calculating, whether there is any conspiracy, these are actually not important. Hatake Sakumo was silent for a moment, shook his head and said, whether someone calculated me or not, the problems I encountered at that time were real. When the ninja code and the will of fire in my heart, the bond between me and my companions, conflicted. What should I do at this time? I once chose my companions and chose the will of fire that I agreed with. Is this wrong? He once made a choice. He made a choice that he thought was more correct. As a result, he suffered a lot of abuse and accusations. Even if there may be someone behind these public opinions to add fuel to the flames, there is no smoke without fire. It is because a view is consistent with the cognition of many people that it can stir up waves. So, the will of fire that he agrees with, and the ninja code that those who accuse him agree with. How to choose between the two? First generation master. Hatake Sakumo suddenly turned his head to look at Senju Hashirama, and asked expectantly, what do you think should be chosen in this situation? Is it the will of fire or the ninja code? However, Senju Hashirama's expression was slightly strange. Well, for me, I might choose both. To complete the mission and protect my companions at the same time. It seems that this is not impossible for him. At least in most cases. Hearing this answer, Hatake Sakumo and Shiro Kakashi were both silent. Brain seizure. Asking the first Hokage such a question. Isn't this asking for trouble? Father. Kakashi said in a low voice, I will continue to think about your question in my future life. However, I think I still hope to get the truth about what happened to you. Some people have ruined their father's reputation. They must pay the price for it. Okay. Hatake Sakumo sighed and nodded. Then, the events that happened nearly 20 years ago were slowly told by Hatake Sakumo's spirit. It was the 41st year of the Konoha calendar. Although the Third Shinobi World War has not yet begun, there has been friction between Konoha and Sand Shinobi on the border. Konoha received news that Sand Shinobi's Jinchuriki might be replaced. So, Konoha sent Hatake Sakumo to Sand Shinobi to gather intelligence. It was prepared for possible future wars. However, when Hatake Sakumo arrived at the destination with his team, he was ambushed by Sand Shinobi ninjas, and his teammates were captured by Sand Shinobi ninjas. In desperation, Hatake Sakumo could only choose to rescue his teammates, then give up the mission and return to the village. Result. After returning to the village, rumors about the failure of the mission spread almost immediately. Encountered an ambush by Sand Shinobi? Kakashi frowned. Is there any conspiracy here? P.S. Regarding whether White Fang is in the Pure Land, Kishimoto did not make it clear where Kakashi and White Fang were warming their fire, so let's just assume that White Fang's soul is in the Pure Land. Episode 50, Obito, Kakashi, be the guide of the Empire. Is there something wrong here? By Kakashi frowned. As soon as he arrived at the mission site, he was ambushed by the Sand Shinobi ninja. How could it be so coincidental? It just happened that the Sand Shinobi ninja's defense was tight. At the same time, his father's mission team failed to pay attention to concealment. Or, is it another possibility? Sand Shinobi knew someone was coming. I don't know about this. Hatake Tsukumo shook his head and said, in short, the situation at that time, the mission must have been impossible to complete, so after I rescued my teammates, I immediately chose to retreat. So. By Kakashi nodded slowly. He was still thinking quickly in his mind. To be fair, his father's choice should not be wrong. In that case, continuing to choose to carry out the mission may be courting death. In this case, although it is understandable, the mission has indeed failed. However, mission failure is not a rare thing. Who can guarantee that every mission can be successful? During the mission, ninjas may encounter various situations that make it impossible to complete the mission. If a mission fails, the ninja should die. Then there may be no ninjas in this world. In his father's mission, being able to protect himself and his teammates was already very good in Kakashi's opinion. Besides, haven't the third Hokage and Shimura Danzo ever failed in a mission? The most important mission of those Konoha high-level officials failed, and the second Hokage of Konoha was sacrificed. If a mission fails, they will become waste. Then the biggest waste should be those Konoha high-level officials. What can be confirmed now is that the subsequent rumors and public opinion fermentation are definitely a conspiracy. Kakashi pondered for a moment and slowly said, however, during the mission, or even before the mission, whether someone has been calculating and designing a conspiracy from the beginning, this is not certain. But it is possible. It may not be a conspiracy, right? Hatake Tsukumo frowned and said, the target of the mission is Sand Shinobi's one-tailed Jinchuriki after all. Jinchuriki is an important strategic weapon, and it is normal for Sand Shinobi to pay attention to protection. This needs to be investigated. By Kakashi said frankly. He was not sure whether there was a conspiracy here, and now he was just guessing that it was possible. But at least, after his father's mission failed, Shimura Danzo had people spread rumors to undermine his father's reputation. This is certain. And for this matter, it is necessary to figure out who is involved. Is it just Shimura Danzo alone? Or, third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, may also be involved? I have a question. Senju Hashirama frowned and thought for a long time, and asked, after the rumors about you appeared in the village, how did Little Monkey Sarutobi deal with it? What did he tell you? As Hokage, be aware of rumors in the village in time. And deal with them correctly. This is the responsibility of the Hokage. After I failed the mission, when I went back to report, the Hokage didn't say much. Hatake Tsukumo recalled, he also comforted me to relax, saying that a mission failure is nothing, and asked me to stop my work and go home for a few days to relax. What happened next? Senju Hashirama continued with a burning gaze. What happened after the rumors in the village appeared? There was no next. Hatake Tsukumo shook his head and said, the last time I saw the Hokage when I reported after the mission was the last time. After he failed the mission and returned to the village. The rumors in the village fermented almost immediately. And they intensified. Soon, the teammates he saved at the time stood up to accuse him. Until he committed suicide, he never saw Sarutobi Hiruzen again. Is that so? Senju Hashirama's face was uncertain. What is Monkey, the Hokage, doing for a living? Such an important matter was not paid attention to and dealt with in time. Let a ninja with the will of fire, an important fighting force in the village, commit suicide just like that. Just based on this, Monkey, the Hokage, is not competent. Then, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Obito did not ask any more questions. Instead, they left the time to Bai Kakashi and his son. Father. Bai Kakashi's eyes were a little red, and he raised his head and asked, I want to know, why did you commit suicide? What were you thinking about in your last period of time? After nearly an hour, Bai Kakashi finally walked out of the previous room. His father's soul has returned to the Pure Land again. Have you finished asking? Uchiha Obito looked up and down at Bai Kakashi. How is it? What are your thoughts now? What are you going to do next? I want to find out the truth. Kakashi took a long breath and said with a firm look, I want to find out the whole truth about my father's past, and then give my father justice. My father may not care about these things anymore. But he still can't care. So, you want revenge? Uchiha Obito was excited and said, at least, Shimura Danzo, a high-ranking official in Konoha, must be a target for you to seek justice, right? Kakashi was silent. Shimura Danzo. Hokage assistant, leader of the root. The second in command of Konoha, his status is only lower than the third Hokage. If I want to seek justice from such a person, can I do it by myself? And if the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is also the mastermind behind the conspiracy to frame my father, then it would be even more impossible to take revenge on my own. How about joining us? Uchiha Obito said confidently, join us, get the help of the Empire's power, and all your goals will be achieved. He has full confidence in this. When he thought about the possibility of attracting Kakashi from the ninja world to join the group and let Kakashi become the guide of the Empire, Obito felt a great sense of accomplishment.